guys, so it's been a few days since I've taken a look at my USD Canadian trade, and I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update. So I just moved my stop up into profit a little bit more here and just shared that with members inside of the group. And let me kind of talk a little bit about exactly why I did that. So if you remember from earlier on the video, I'm reminding myself because when you guys watch this, it's all back to back, but this has been a few days since I even got into the trade. So you can actually see I got into the trade back here, as we had mentioned, the break underneath that structure, looking for that sell side to continue, and fortunately it did. Now, if you remember, my stop loss up here, I initially entered, and then my stop was above this triple top area, right? So fortunately that area held beautifully, and we did in fact get that continuation that we were looking for. We eventually brought that trade, the stop loss on this trade, up to around break even. Now I thought we were actually going to get stopped out of here when there was some tweets done by the president that caused our trade to move back the other direction. I almost was stopped out of the trade, but fortunately we stuck to where our stop was, which was right around there. And today I ended up moving my stop down into profit just about 10 minutes ago here, based on the fact that, okay, we've broken through another key level here, which is a good sign for our trade. Let's talk about this. So we broke through this level of support. That's what I was really hoping to see. And that basically just now caused me to move my stop up again, locking in about 1R on the trade. Now, currently we are in profit on this trade about 152 pips, which is really nice. So this is becoming a pretty good sized winner. And now this is one of my favorite moments as a trader. It is one of the best situations to be in my view. The trade is going in our favor. The trend is on our side at this point. And the best part is that at this point, it is not a matter of whether I make money or not. It is a matter of how much money am I going to make. Let me explain that. The price has dropped down in our favor pretty significantly, and we have at this point locked in 1R, meaning 1 times our initial investment we entered here, right? Our stop, we have locked in at least 1 times our initial risk. Now, if price were to drop, my best trades are ones that just keep going in my favor, and the trend really plays into my favor. If that were to happen, that would look something like this. If we were to keep going lower and just keep trailing that stop, that would set me up for a huge potential winner. Now, that is not what we are at right now. And a lot of times what happens in my trades, let me be completely transparent and honest, a lot of times in this sort of situation, what ends up happening is this market will just do a normal pullback and sometimes even stop me out, and I'll just take a much smaller win than I had hoped for. Again, I'm up 152 pips for now. I could end up closing out for about 75 pips of profit, which is a lot less, and that's what I'm willing to take the risk on, essentially. Not really risk anymore because it's going to be profit, but what I'm willing to sacrifice is taking a smaller win for the potential for this to be a much bigger win. Again, if the market tanks, right? If my initial thesis really works out and this trend continues and we're able to lock in 2R, 3R, 4R on this trade, that's going to make it a ginormous winner. And that is where, for me in my trading, that's where the money is in those kind of every once in a while big trends that really run in my favor. That is why I personally love trailing stops. That's why I get slack on the internet for it sometimes, because people just say, well, you should have just taken the profit here or whatever. For me, I like to let trades run as much as possible and stick with the trend. If this trend continues, hey, I'm all for it. But if not, we'll get out of the trade, and I'm going to update you guys whatever happens and post it on YouTube. It's nice to have a winner here either way, but we'll see if we can get a little bit more profit on the table. So stay tuned, and we'll be back with more updates on this one. All right, guys, what's up? I'm back in the office, and check it out. We had USD CAD move in our favor here really nicely, and I think it's time to lock in a little bit more profit here on the trade. So actually what ended up happening is here's our initial stop as we talked about just on the last update, and then we moved stops up to here. We moved stops up to where we currently are, which is locking in about 1R. And now you can see here in the New York and the London session, we had a ton of bearishness on this move here. Just a lot of sell side action on this dollar Canadian. People really preferring the Canadian dollar over the US dollar right now. And I think that that has to do with a lot of weakening US dollar stuff across the board right now. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to trail my stop a little bit more. Now, if you have been watching my live trading videos, you know that usually what I look for in order to move stops is a move to the next kind of stepping stone in the ladder, right? So if I entered here, I'm going to move my stop to break even once price has actually gotten to the 1R point. So when price comes down here, I'm going to move up my stop to break even. Now, in this case, you can see we have not actually gotten to that 3R point for me to move my stop up, but I'm going to do so anyways because price is moving heavily in my favor, and I think that it is possible that we get a sharp bounce back. And if that happens, I'd rather just get out of the trade because I'm just going to let this winner run if it wants to keep going, and I'm going to let it stop me out if it decides to change direction. So I am going to move my stop up here a bit and lock in hopefully around 2R here on the trade. Now let's actually talk about that, about where I might move this stop up to. You can see actually that we are currently coming into contact with a pretty strong area of support, and this is kind of why it's possible to me that we come into this point and we just see the bounce back. I'm not just going to use a strict pip count or distance thing to move my stop, right? I am going to consider things like price action and support resistance and the concepts that I look at in order to move my stop appropriately. So to me, what would be kind of a point of get out of this trade is if we saw enough of a break back to kind of get back above this zone, right? So if this thing held very well, then it's possible that price could rally and go into next week bullish. So I don't want to risk a ton of, or I don't want to give back a ton of the profit. So I'm going to move my stop up. I'm thinking right around to this point here. And that reasoning is, again, we've got this supportive structure here. We can also point out that there's kind of this consolidation zone, right? So this whole area is just kind of a consolidation zone. So if we break back above that, to me, it's time to probably jump out of the trade. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move up my stop here and lock in just shy of 2R on the trade, which actually comes out to be, let's see, there's our initial entry. If we lock in 2R or somewhere around it, that's going to be around 150, 155 pips locked in here on the trade, which is a really solid trade. So at this point, again, very, very cool position to be in. It's not a question of if I make money or not. It's a question of how much money is the market willing to give me. So currently floating about almost 3R here on the trade. And so we'll see if it keeps going. If it wants to keep dropping, then of course I will let it play out and let this trade become a even bigger winner. My best trades are the ones that just keep going and going and going. And so I'm basically, I kind of think of this strategy as like a fishing strategy, because sometimes you catch your line, sometimes you get nothing, sometimes you get a little bit, and sometimes you get the big fish. And so that's what I'm looking for with this approach. So let's see if we can get a little bit more profit out of this. I'm going to move up my stops and update the group.
That is tough to beat. Two of my favorite things, being out in the wilderness, and it's fall time. You got a nice fire going.
Okay, and just to show you guys what I just shared with members, we can pull this up. So this is, currently I've got two trades open. I've got my dollar Canadian trade and my euro yen trade. Fortunately, this week has been really, really solid, and euro yen as well as dollar Canadian are both in profit. So I just updated members on the USD CAD trade. So I said both my trades are currently nicely in profit, and also to note that I've trailed my stop further on dollar Canadian as price has moved very strongly in my favor in the London and New York sessions, as we mentioned. Stop loss trailed to about 2 times my initial risk, which if we take a look at the screen again and go, well, this is euro yen, but if we take a look at dollar Canadian, you can see there's our initial risk, right? So our initial risk is this distance, and you can actually see that currently in profit, we've locked in just about 2 times my initial risk. and floating even more profit down below. So very, very happy with this trade, and gonna let it run. And again, if you are not already a member and you want to see my trades and my analysis in real time, you can access our chat room. You get access to a whole bunch of stuff. You can see what's going on. Make sure to click the link down below in the description and you'll be able to get access there. Also, there's a discount code down there if you want to use that. You get $5 off if you want to join us. So see you inside.